Yeah,
Are we
Emily.
talking about Bluey?
hmm
The only
only
time
Don't
time
they
I've
do it
ever
the
watched
only time
Bluey
I've
is with
ever
my
watched Bluey was
grandkids.
at your house with your
at my
children.
house?
Yes. Sometimes when my mom comes to visit, I catch her watching Bluey by herself. So
It's
My
so
husband
good.
does. He
I've
can
only
quote
watched
Oh,
it with my
it all.
grandkids. They're so cute, though.
Alicia, have you guys watched the one where they maybe they're gonna move?
Yes, I have seen that one.
Listen, we watched that. I didn't realize what it was about, and we were getting ready to PCS,
Oh no.
and it was my oldest daughter started just tears, crying. Then I started crying. Then Emily's crying because I'm crying. Josh comes downstairs and he's like, "What's happening?" We're watching Bluey. Why is everyone hysterical? I was like,
Yeah, that's
we have to
probably
take a
not good
vacation from
timing with
Bluey for a
that.
while.
tell those of us who don't know what
Oh,
PCS means. I'm
Moving because of the
permanent.
military.
okay, that's what I
Yeah, it's
assumed.
permanent change of station.
Permanent
Permanent
change
change
of
of
station.
station.
Okay.
Something like that. But it but they but here's the thing is that at the end, I was like, okay, we're watching it. I'm like, okay, this could be a good life lesson because look, we're not the only ones that move. But then the
Then they
buyers
went
backed
back.
out and then they decide not to move. And I'm like, that doesn't happen. That's not realistic. What about their earnest money?
Yeah.
It's just no.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC Show. I'm your host this week, Amy Krieger, and I am joined by 4 friends. We've got Mandy Gibson.
Hello.
Not the same long introduction I gave last time. We've got Alicia McDonald
Hi guys.
and Amy Templeton.
Hello.
You said 4 friends, so I just decided
Yeah,
to
you did say 4 friends. There's
and
3.
say that I'm still here. I'm down on the floor, just
You're the
producing
4th friend.
everything. So I'm gonna go away.
Thanks.
Yeah, bye.
I took a photo of Paul for Patreon because he's literally just laying on the floor, just hitting buttons and stuff, and I can hear him typing. Okay, thank you for that, Paul. As always, this content is brought to you by Keyholder Vacations, DVC Resale Market, where you can buy and sell that Disney Vacation Club contract. Monero Financial, who can help you finance that contract. The DVC Rental Store, where you can try before you buy or rent out your points. And Unlocked Magic, where you can find discounted tickets to Disney and Universal. And this week we are talking all things DVC with kids. And as most of you probably know, I don't have a whole lot of experience in that area, so I'm probably going to be asking a lot of questions, but I have brought in 3 awesome experts on the field of bringing your kids to Disney. So we are going to kick it off with, what is your go-to DVC resort when you are traveling with young children? Alicia, what is the first resort that you think of? Maybe your daughter's favorite resort, or where do you guys like to go when you've got Natalie with you?
So if we are talking just resorts, this is hands down Animal Kingdom. Just seeing the views of the animal from your room. But not only that, they have so many more unique activities for kids, especially in Jamba House. They have the medallion, kind of tracing that they do right there on the floors whenever you're walking in, or the strings of memories. They have people playing drums, also the wood carving. And then they have 2 great pools. And especially for little ones at Kadani, there is a splash pad that they can run around with. So those are some great reasons. And then my favorite reason is because a lot of DVC resorts don't have kind of the quick service that's strictly dedicated in its own spot, really convenient, um, that you can order that's inside and has ample seating. So I really enjoy being at Animal Kingdom.
Okay, I've always every time I see the splash pad at Kadani, I always want to go check it out. So I need need to borrow someone's child so that I can go play in the splash pad.
You know my kids will go with you.
I know. So next time, as I love going to Vero with them, so I'm coming next time. Mandy, what is the resort that you think of the most when traveling with kids?
So I was kind of thinking about this, and it's kind of changed as my children have gotten older. When they were younger, we were like hardcore must stay at the on a monorail resort.
Mhm.
And Grand Floridian was always our go-to because, it was easy to get on and off the monorail, especially for like midday naps. Because when our kids were a lot younger, their favorite park was, Magic Kingdom, because there's so many rides there and attractions and entertainment for younger kids. And to be able to like easily come back for a midday nap, not have to fold up the stroller and just put it on the monorail, or even do like walking path depending on like where you're staying. For us, when they were younger, that was really beneficial and kind of like what we prioritized. And Grand Floridian has that really fun like Mad Hatter splash pad for little kids as well. And they have the zero entry pools in both the like quiet pool and like the feature pool with the slide. So that was always really nice for us. And we still always like to go there, but we have found like as the kids have gotten older, my kids are now like 7 and almost 11. We have been doing a lot of split stays where it's kind of like that nostalgia. They still love like the monorail resorts, I think, just because that's where they've like grown up. So like a Poly or Grand Flow, but they've really started to enjoy the boardwalk area resorts, the Epcot area resorts. So this last summer we went and we really enjoyed being able to stay on, we stayed at Beach Club, to be able to walk to both Epcot and Hollywood Studios, but just in the evenings, especially if we were just wanting to have more of a relaxing evening, the activities along the boardwalk that they have, like the performers and things like that, it's so entertaining. Like I could let my kids run around in that green space on the boardwalk and they would do it for like an hour and they would be completely happy. And Boardwalk has a really good community hall. So I think as they've gotten older, they're kind of like leaning a little bit more towards those Epcot area resorts, but those are our two like favorites. So young kids, monorail. As they get a little bit older, I feel like the Epcot area resorts are a little bit better. So
Amy, what do you think?
Well, as Amy said, the last show, I am a grandma, so it's been many, many years since I brought my own kids. They're all adults now. And Animal Kingdom Lodge was one of the resorts on my list that I think is really, really fun for kids. But the last time our grandkids came, we stayed at the Treehouses at Saratoga Springs, and we had the best time. Like, I just think because it's such a unique property, it's very secluded. The kids thought it was so cool that we were like in the trees. They have the bunk beds. There's plenty of space in those tree houses if you've ever stayed there. So that one for us, just because of how unique it is, you really feel like you're away from society. Like it's just a very, very cool resort. And we really, really loved it the last time our grandkids were here. So
I noticed that nobody mentioned like Stormalong Bay, like Beach Club for Stormalong Bay. So that's I see you guys shake your head, and that's really interesting to me because Stormalong Bay gets a lot of praise and it is a great pool. But when it comes to young children, I think there are some challenges there. Yeah. So like Alicia,
it's tough.
It's real tough. I mean, you have to walk all the way through the lobby just to get anywhere. Like, it's quite a stroll to get there. And then the Stormalong Bay is so big. Like, it's probably good for like teenagers, probably in that age. But I don't know. The sand too, like, I don't want sand all over me, bring me back to the room. Like, no.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, like, it's very like separate, right? Because you have like for the most part all connects, but it's pretty like segregated, right? Like it's pretty like choppy in terms of like where you can go, and then, you know, you can't, like, you go to the Grand Floridian pool, you could sit on the pool deck and you can watch your kids pretty much go up and down the slide as
Yeah.
many times as they want. That's the big thing for us because our kids love the slide. And so with Beach Club, you actually have to exit Beach Club, go across the walkway to get on that slide. And they're not,
Mhm.
you know, like they're not
Yeah.
old enough and haven't been, you know, probably until just recently to even do that by themselves. So that kind of makes it even less relaxing for like you as a parent on pool
Yeah.
days. And they have that lazy river, and that lazy river gets
It's
like,
deep.
I think like 9 foot deep in some
Mhm.
places. And so like that can be kind of scary, you know, especially with it being so segregated. Like it is like, it's a little nerve wracking, I feel like, especially for younger kids. I do agree. Like
Yeah.
now that our kids are getting a little bit older, it seems to work a little bit nicer for us. But I couldn't have imagined like taking them when they were super young and doing Stormalong Bay.
Yeah. I hear that a lot, and I think that's something that the parents, especially of young kids, need to keep in mind is that that pool can be very hectic for like keeping track of your children
Mhm.
and you know, yeah, not as relaxing as it seems. I'm gonna bring up one because I've had great experiences with Mandy's kids at this resort, and that is Vero Beach. And I think that that is
Yeah.
a great family resort. They've got, you know, not only are you right there, you're on the beach, so you don't have to go very far, but it's got an amazing swimming pool that is actually shaped like Mickey. You know, it's got like the hidden
Mhm.
Mickey shape, and you really can only tell if you go all the way up on the top, you know, to the slide and kind of look down on it. But also, you know, you've got quick service and dining right there. That slide is always really fun, and you know, unlike Stormalong Bay, you know, you can kind of sit on the edge of the pool. You can, you know, watch, you know, see the kids going up and down the slide, which Mandy's children did over and over. But not only you've got the beach right there, you've got a little putt putt type version right there as well. And then they have activities in the evening. They do things like sing-alongs, you know, campfires and s'mores and stuff like that. So I think Vero Beach is also a really good one, and it doesn't get enough love. You know, a lot of DVC members, when they think about taking their children, they always, you know, it's always Disney World, but that's a good one, and it's also, you know, it's just what, like an hour or something from Disney World, so it's
Yeah.
a cool option to add on to part of your trip. So
Yeah, we really are. We love Vero Beach. We've
yeah.
gone the last couple years in a row. We've met Paul and Amy there once, and it was a lot of fun. And they do, it is a little bit different. I always say that it's interesting because Vero Beach like reminds me of like, I saying pre-COVID again, but like it reminds me of pre-COVID just in terms of like the magic and the cast member
Mhm.
interactions, which
Yes.
we've seen a lot get it. We've seen gotten a lot better. I feel like
Yeah.
in like the past year, even at Walt Disney World. But they do so many activities. Like they have a whole activities calendar, like throughout the day for the kids. Some are free. They have an amazing community hall that, of
Mhm.
course, you can pay like a small fee to do like different crafts and things like that. But it is a great resort for kids. I will say like 3 to 4 nights is our max. We did go to
Mhm.
spring break this
Yeah.
past year and we were going to stay like 6 nights, but we had the opportunity to go over to Walt Disney World for our last couple nights instead,
Mhm.
so we switched that around. And it was like the fourth night we were ready to be like, for our kids age, we were kind of ready to be done. They had like done all the things. They were getting a little bit bored, but it
Yeah.
is a really great resort for kids.
Mhm. Perfect for weekends or short stays. Okay, so
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about room choices when you are traveling, doing Disney DVC with your children. Do you typically stick with studios or one bedrooms, or what kind of room accommodations do you think work the best, both for your family but also for like your points budget? So Alicia, what do you think?
So right now, so I'm kind of cheap with my points. So
Mhm.
we are strictly studios for right now, but it's just the three of us. She's relatively smaller, so it just kind of works out. With the one bedroom, I know that the kitchen would be nice, but not having that also gives me the opportunity to try all the Disney World restaurants and give
Mhm.
me a break. So I'm all on board for that.
Amy, what is your preference when you travel with?
My preference. Well, when my grandkids are in town, it kind of depends on how many people are in your family. You know,
Mhm.
how many, like,
Mhm.
if more than one of our kids is coming and bringing more grandkids, like, I think it's going to depend on the size of, your party. It's going to depend on, are you going to spend a lot of time in the room? Like, what are the ages of your kids? Are you going to go to the park in the morning and come back to the room for like a midday nap and then go back for fireworks? I think that all just like plays into it. If you're not going to be in the room that much and you can fit into a smaller room, save the points because you're not going to be utilizing the room very much. But if you've got a lot of people, you're going to need a bigger room. So I think the answer is going to be different for everybody. For us, we prefer having a 2-bedroom when our kids and grandkids come, just so everybody has their own space. So
Mhm. Mandy, what do you guys typically do?
So we've done mainly studios. I feel like we've gotten like Disney bougie. And then we'll do like a split stay where we'll do
Mhm.
like half the time, because we always do usually like one big trip, especially because
Yeah.
like with my husband and his leave, and it's we don't always get the chance to like do the kind of like shorter giveaways, especially when we were
Mhm.
in South Carolina. It was a little bit easier to do that because we could drive like 6 hours, but now that we're in Virginia, like it's just it's a 13-hour drive, so we're flying, so it's not as easy to do like just like the short weekend getaway. So we do like
Mhm.
one big trip, and we've done split stays just to kind of save on points, where we do like a studio and then we do a 1-bedroom, and we always do the 1-bedroom on the back half because
Yes.
every time we are
Yes.
done with the 1-bedroom, we're like, we're never going back to a studio again. But we always do. So we do it on the back half, purposely. But I would say that like there are specific studios that we try to do, especially as our girls are getting a little bit older, since there are 4 of us.
Mhm.
If there is a 5th sleeper, that works out really well for us because the
Mhm.
girls still feel like they have like a little bit of their own space and aren't like having to share a bed. But I do really prefer, if we are going to do the studio, we really enjoyed the space in the new Poly Tower studios. Just the way that they did those in terms of like storage and spacing, like felt really a lot more spacious than some of
Mhm.
the other studios. We also enjoy the studios at the Grand and then like the standard Poly like longhouses, because they kind of have a split bathroom. So you have 2
Yeah.
showers, a tub and a shower, and then you have, like your toilet area and sink. And so, and at the Poly, you really have 2 sinks at the longhouses. So studio is kind of like, we are being a little more picky about which studios, but we do
Mhm.
enjoy the 1-bedrooms, especially too because we do the longer stays. Because if we can get into a 1-bedroom, again, it gives us a little bit more space, but to have the washer and dryer in the room, especially if you're doing like a longer trip and
Yeah.
with kids, is so nice.
Yeah.
So
That goes right hand in hand with what my next question was going to be, which was, how do you kind of maximize your points, especially since, a lot of families have to travel when there's school breaks. And the school breaks are, some of the busier times of the year, because they're holidays and things like that. So sometimes the point costs are a little higher. So I love what you said about, maybe spending a little bit in a studio, and then, the end of your trip in 1 bedroom where you can do laundry and stuff. But yeah, I would not want to do it the flip it the opposite way and have to go
yeah,
from the big bougie room to the little room.
yeah, I don't recommend that.
No, Paul and I did that one time. We did not purposely. I think we had booked a studio at Oak Key West and they had upgraded us to a 1 bedroom. And then we were going from there to the Riviera Tower studio. And I was like, oh my goodness, it's like gonna feel
Oh, yeah,
like a
that's
closet. Yeah, that was during the pandemic. We ended up getting upgraded to a 1 bedroom Riviera too. So it worked out. But does anybody have any other thoughts on how you can just maximize your points, especially if you have to travel during, the school break season and things like that, just to get the most for your family?
I would say if that's the only time you can come, that's going to be a really, really popular time for everyone to come. So I would just focus on the lower point chart resorts, like Old Key West, Animal Kingdom Lodge, Saratoga Springs, like any way that you can still come and not have to use a ton of points because you're coming during spring break and it's really, really busy.
Yeah.
That's my only advice.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I think, we've struggled with that in recent years too, as our kids have gotten like school aged of like, gosh, when we do have to travel, it's so busy, the points are higher. And I think you kind of do, just like you said, Amy, with just kind of looking at like, how do you make your points last the longest, or doing like some sort of split stay where, maybe you're not spending all 7 nights at the Polynesian. Maybe
Yeah.
you're doing half at the Polynesian and then you're, going over to, Saratoga or Key West or vice versa, or Animal Kingdom, just to kind of not have to use the highest like point value at some of the
Yeah.
highest resorts, still getting the opportunity to see them and doing like the split stays.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, when you look at those resorts, the Saratogas and the Old Key West, and even Boardwalk and Beach Club have relatively low point charts, but especially like
They
Old
do.
Key West, you can get as low as nine points a night for a studio. And those one bedrooms, the one bedrooms sometimes are less than a studio at like Grand Floridian or Polynesian. So yeah, it's definitely worth, looking at those point charts, seeing where the value is, and remembering, like, if you really want to stay at Grand Floridian, it doesn't have to be 7 days at the Grand Floridian. You know what I mean? You can kind of get your fill in 3, 4 nights. And the cool thing about a split stay, and I know it's not always ideal when you have kids that have to, repack and stuff, but you do get that fresh room, that since DVC doesn't get housekeeping and no one's, making your bed, you do a split stay and you're starting fresh and you got a fresh room and you got a change of scenery and your location is changed. So maybe you spend, this much time closer to the parks, but then you spend, X amount of time closer to Disney Springs, and that's where you focus, your time on. So yeah, I love that idea.
And split stay brings up I know we weren't planning on like talking about split stays, but I will say, like, I want to just give my thoughts on split stays too, is that it's not for everyone, and it's not for the faint of heart. Split stays are great, but they can also be a pain in the ass. Oh, Paul, you might have to blurb that out. Sorry.
No, I hope he leaves it in. Love it.
Because here, especially if your kids are still napping, because you have to check out and then you may not get a room right away.
Yeah.
And so you have to be prepared for that. With us, when we were in South Carolina and could drive, we would put our kids in the car. Like, we would, go in the car, go for a drive, or just sit in there, like let them kind of nap in the car.
Yeah.
We've done that before, but like sometimes you can we've done it and we've had to check out of one and then go into the other, and we've gotten our room really early at like 1:00. And sometimes we've had to wait till 5, and 1 to 5 for most kids is like prime nap time. So just be prepared for that. And the other thing you have to consider is like food delivery, especially if you're not driving. So if you have your groceries sent and then you're shipping, technically Bell Services will not transfer any perishable items.
Yeah.
Now we've done like a small like soft side cooler, and they've like taken that, but you have to prepare for that as well, because one, it may not stay cool, especially if it's like dairy or, like formula, something like that. So you might even have to prepare to do like 2 like grocery orders potentially as well.
Yeah.
Like if you're doing like a longer term split stay. So that's just like things to consider. It's doable, and we do it to save points, and it's fine, but it can also be a pain in the ass. So my 2 cents on that.
That's and so see, that's something I've never even thought of, is like, if my kids have to nap, then where do you go? So that was really good advice. If you can handle, being in the parks for kind of like a big chunk of the day, then use the day that you transfer, on your split stay as like a park day. You know what I mean? And then you're not as worried about when you get your room. But be sure, especially if you transfer your luggage, like Mandy was talking about, you might not get your luggage until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. It can be sometimes late. It can be much later than you get your room. So, in your day bag that you're going to have with you, pack the things that you and your family and your children need, and maybe find some kind of activity that to keep you occupied through most of that day. But yeah, that's really, really great advice.
And that's a really good point too, because I have a horror story to share at that.
Oh my
This
goodness.
last trip, we did a transfer. We thought we were like, oh, we did a park day, and then we like went early. We stayed a little bit longer. We're like, we'll have a later lunch so the kids can kind of relax, and then hopefully by that time we'll get into our room. We were able to, and then Emily, who's our youngest, she 6 at the time, not quite napping, but was tired enough to where she wanted to rest. But it was a nightmare because her blanket that she likes to cuddle with was in the luggage that was being transferred. And even though we had our room, we did not have the luggage. And so it was a whole thing. We tried to give her a towel. We tried to give her a sweatshirt that we
She wasn't
had, like all
having
the
it.
things. She wanted the blanket and she would not close her eyes. And so she was a nightmare for the rest of the day. So mistakes were made. But
Oh my
again,
goodness.
prepare yourself.
Prepare yourself, yeah, for what you need. It's actually easier, like if you can get to your resort with your luggage or Uber over with your luggage, and you'll have it, you'll have it right away and just leave it at Bell Services at the new resort. But that's not feasible for everybody. Okay, so how about we talked about a little bit about resort activities, and I know like Mandy, you mentioned some of them, and Alicia, you mentioned some. So what are some specific resort activities that maybe we don't talk about enough or underrated, or people might not know exist and would be great for doing with your kids? What do you think, Alicia?
So I think that the Strike of Memories over at Animal Kingdom is so underrated. So it's free for them to do. The kids go around, learn all about Africa, and as they are learning with each activity, they're given beads so that they can kind of make a little necklace. Our daughter did the tracking one, and it was just so funny because it was her searching for poop, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like why would you be getting such a kick out of this? But it was just so funny to like see her walking around and searching for like hippo poop. So I don't know, it's just been like a highlight of one of our trips over at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Are you pausing me?
One of the things they started doing, oh, what's
Sorry.
happening?
Are we good? Okay, go ahead, Mandy.
One of the things that they started doing like a year or so ago, maybe longer now, is they have like each resort has a specific like mascot. So it's like Grand Floridian is Mr. Penguin for Mary Poppins. I don't know, there's like Sebastian, Flounder. But anyway, they hide them every day inside the resorts. And it's like a scavenger hunt where you find where they've hidden this little statue of the little characters. They're like the sidekicks, I think mostly is what they are. But you find the little characters and you take a picture, then you go back to guest services and show them the picture, and the kids get like a little button. And then for each day that they find the little mascot or the sidekick, they get a sticker. And then some of the resorts, once they get like 5 stickers, which is like how many are on there, they'll give them like a little tchotchke like prize or whatever. But my kids love that. And you don't have to be a guest staying there to do it. So like if we go to, like let's say we're staying at Beach Club and we're walking over to Boardwalk or going over to Riviera, they're like trying to find the characters at each of the resorts. So my kids have like all these buttons of like these different characters because they're trying to find them, but it's free. And my kids absolutely love it.
Oh my goodness. I've never even heard of both of the things that you guys talked about. So
Yeah.
definitely
I
underrated.
haven't either.
I know.
I was actually gonna say, though I love that they do the outdoor movies with the big blow up screens.
Yes.
Because it's not usually just the movie. They're usually doing some other kind of activity like s'mores or something else. Like if you're not gonna spend the entire day at the park, or maybe it's a resort day, just like kind of just a nice night, go out lay on the grass, watch a movie. And then also the arcades. Like most of the resorts have arcades, right?
Yeah.
And I hardly ever see anyone really in the arcades.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they don't get enough love. I've honestly never been in there. Actually, no, that's wrong. I did go into the one at the boardwalk one time. And there just wasn't a lot of people in there. I don't know if they just don't keep them like running efficiently, or like the games aren't like cool. I don't know, but I don't know. I thought it was really cool. They had air hockey. That's all I need is air hockey and like skee ball, and I'd be good.
You do have to pay, right, for the arcades, like coins.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wonder if it's cost, because like Boardwalk's a good example of that. If you go over to Community Hall, they have like a foosball table. They have a couple of pinball machines. Like in pretty much all the community halls, they have a lot of like video games that kids can play too, and it's all free. So I wonder, as they're like, over the years, kind of like Community Hall is becoming more than just like a place you can get like games or do crafts, where they have like more of that stuff. If they're kind of making the arcades obsolete.
So what you're saying is they should be free.
Well, yeah,
I would love that. My wallet would love that, because my daughter is one of the only kids in there.
You said like free and related to Disney, like in the same sentence, and that just doesn't seem at all like anything that's going to happen.
I do. So the outdoor movies, I've seen them in action, and we've never taken part of it. And I want to, ever since I think we were doing a meetup on the Village Green at Boardwalk. It was for the DVC Fan Summerfest, and we saw them setting up for the movie, and they had these like really pretty, these big lanterns that they sat out, and like these like blankets, and it wasn't just throwing a movie up on a blow up screen. Like it had an ambiance to it. It was really cool. So
yeah, like I wouldn't even need kids with me to go. Like I would just go by myself.
Yeah.
They have some fun movies. Like they're not just kid movies.
Disney for single people. That should be a show.
Yeah.
Well, I also feel like
they also do.
Go ahead, Mandy.
Oh, I was going to say, they also like randomly, it's not every time, because our kids like the movies on the lawn too, but like we've gone to some of them and they'll have like special like treats or snacks that they'll hand out. Like we've done one and they've like handed out like Mickey Rice Krispie like treats. One time we were at the Grand Floridian, and this was like a couple years ago, but they were handing out like to each family like big bags of like Smart Pop like popcorn. Like,
oh my goodness.
So they'll do like certain things like that too, like treats or little things, like little surprises sometimes too.
That's awesome. I do feel like the community halls are like underrated, because every time I walk by one, I don't see very many people in them. And some people don't even know that they exist at some of the resorts. So like the Boardwalk one is back by the Villas Pole, I'm pretty sure. It's just like its own separate building. The one at Bay Lake Tower is just like in the hallway, like down the right side.
On the first floor.
Yeah, on the first floor. Yeah, it's if you're facing the like where the check-in desk used to be, it's like that left hall. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize some of those exist. So if you're with your kids and you're looking for something to do, walk into the community hall, because they always have crafts. They always have things, you know what I mean? And one of my favorites, and it's not underrated because everybody does it, but I love the tie-dye t-shirt. And they always have it. You know what I mean? Like you make yourself a Mickey tie-dye t-shirt, and you do have to pay for it. It's fairly inexpensive, and you do get a DVC discount or an annual pass discount, if you have one. So there's a lot of underutilized things that they have going on. Okay, so let's switch gears a little bit and talk about your point planning. Tell me about how you manage your family's DVC points. Like who's in charge of the DVC points? Is it a shared effort? How do you keep track? How do you best lay out things so that you and your family are getting the most out of your DVC membership? Mandy, what do you think?
I manage the points now that we have them. My husband, I have to keep him away from looking at points because it took me forever to convince him until our COO put together a spreadsheet for him.
That's hilarious.
So if anyone needs a convincing spreadsheet for their spreadsheet loving husbands, let me know. I've got one for you for DVC buy-in. And then it was like he couldn't stop. And before I knew it, we had like 2 poly contracts. And I was like, what's happening? I mean, like, I was good with just the one. I don't know that anyone ever says that, but I was good with just the one. But I kind of manage it now. And I think mainly just because it's like, this is when we're going, this is when the kids' schedules are, here's how we can kind of like make the most of it. But we always just kind of talk through it together just in terms of like where we want to stay. And then I'm like, okay, here's what we can do to make sure that we're like getting the best bang for our buck when we're doing our big trips or whatever the case is. So
Yeah. Do you guys own at Grand Floridian, or you just stay there a lot with your poly points?
we just stay there a lot with
Oh.
our poly points.
Okay.
But yeah, we own, both of our contracts are at poly.
Poly.
So
Okay. And
Mhm.
Mandy and her husband bought their first Polynesian contract right when we bought our Polynesian contract, and we bought pretty much like identical contracts. They were the same amount, and Mandy had to get hers for $1 less per point than we did. So
Yes, I do.
it was a really good deal. Alicia, what happens in your family?
So in our family, it was actually the opposite. My husband actually had to convince me that DVC was the good investment with the Excel sheets.
Oh,
A little
wow.
bit more on that number side. But now that we actually have the points, I'm actually the person who kind of manages, just because I'm the one that can remember what the schedules are between school and my husband's leave dates. So I'm the one that kind of coordinates that, but I love it just because it's like a game to me, like kind of stalking the DVC site, being able to see what I can actually score. I mean, I should probably put a disclaimer out here. I have gotten value Animal Kingdom Studios for this upcoming Christmas
Oh,
and
wow.
spring break just
Yeah.
by
Nice.
kind of stalking the site. So I'm kind of trying to utilize the points the best of my ability.
Yeah. So it does, if you have the time to kind of, like, we always call it stalking the site, to look and check. And I used to find the best things like in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. That's when
Mhm.
I would find like rooms and stuff open. Not that that's always the case, but those are some awesome finds. Those value rooms at Animal Kingdom. And you don't even own an Animal Kingdom, do you? Or do you?
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes, you
our
do.
first
Okay.
contract.
Okay. I was thinking,
That's
okay,
a
is it
starter.
Beach Club and Animal Kingdom? Are those the two? Or Boardwalk?
So we actually have 3 now.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so I was a little happy. Animal Kingdom we own at, and then Boardwalk,
Okay.
and now the Poly.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's awesome. Okay. So yeah, but yeah, that value room, and honestly, the room is, you can barely tell the size difference, between that and a studio. So great on points. Amy, do you book? I know that you make Jeff do
This
all
is
the
not
booking.
no, this is not a shared task at our house. Jeff does all the booking. He basically says, this is when we have to leave. This is when I need you in the car. And sometimes I'm in the car on time. But
Yes.
but I will say when we're booking DVC because we have family coming into town or friends coming into town, he will say like, hey, I've got, a couple ideas, like, but where do you think they are going to want to stay? Like maybe they've never been to Disney before, or, if our kids are coming, like if there's certain things they want to do, like which resort do you think would be the best place to stay? Like he'll get my opinion on like where we should stay. But as far as like managing points and spreadsheets and numbers and no, that's a Jeff job.
Yeah. So Amy and Jeff, more than anybody I know, are the most sharing of their DVC points. Like they're always like having family experience their DVC with them, having friends. Like they're very, especially people that live in, they're from Utah. So yeah, you guys are some of the most generous.
Well, and I will say too, part of that is that Jeff gets so much joy in sharing something that he loves so much and something he's passionate about, that he wants to give everyone like the best experience. And if we're not staying DVC, like it's not good enough. And so he always does. And yeah, he would give the shirt off his back. Like he just is such a nice guy.
Aw.
So nice. Yeah.
So what do you think is the best time of the year to travel with kids to Disney, or honestly any kind of DVC resort? Mandy, what's your favorite time of the year to bring your kids?
I like mid to end of May.
Okay.
That's my favorite time. It's tougher. It's a lot harder for us to do that now that the kids are in school and that we're kind of a little bit further north, because they go to school, they start a little bit later and then they're in school until like mid-June. So when we were living in South Carolina and when we were in Texas, they would get out of school usually around that like mid-May, like before Memorial Day. And so we would usually go that like week before Memorial Day. And you would see the crowds kind of pick up a little bit as it got closer to like Memorial Day, like that weekend. But before then, it was really nice because all of the schools up north were still in school.
Yeah.
Some, a lot of the schools in the South were just getting out. So people don't normally like take their summer vacation like right when school gets out. And so like I always love that time of the year. And if you hit it right, you're not in like the blistering summer heat, but it's still like warm and you're traveling, especially for us that aren't in Florida all the time. It's like, oh, you're Florida, you got Florida weather, all of that. So that's probably like my favorite time to travel with kids.
Okay. Yeah, if you can swing it, that is like one of the lower crowd times. And the weather, yeah, it doesn't really get hot until the end of May, I don't feel like, but that we're also more used to things. Amy, what's your favorite time, do you think, to bring like family?
Yeah. Well, summertime, obviously, because kids are out of school. That seems to be when we have kids that come to visit. But honestly, like, as long as it's not the week between Christmas and New Year's, like that week is just like way too busy for anyone to be here. Like if you're going to give a Disney trip to your kids for Christmas, just don't come at Christmas. Like either come before or come after, but like it's just way too busy. But I would say like the most traveling I did when we were in Utah and we would travel, the most traveling we did was like end of February and into March. I think the weather that time of year is just perfect as long as you avoid like race weekends and, high traffic because of races or other things going on or stuff at the ESPN, cheer, dance, whatever they have going on. As long as you can avoid like those really busy weekends, I think that time of year is just perfect. Like February, March.
Yeah. Alicia, what's your favorite?
I would have to say beginning of May because, like Mandy said, it's not too hot yet. Obviously with school, it's a little bit harder, but whenever she was younger, we had the perfect trip. Like going that first week of May, it wasn't too hot. You could still swim, the flower and gardens going on. So it's just like perfect.
Yeah. Is April, Easter obviously can affect crowds a good bit. Have any of you guys ever traveled, after Easter, like in the April timeframe? Is that similar?
You still hit spring break because depending on like the school district,
Yeah.
Easter doesn't always like align with the spring break. Like when we were in South Carolina, like they would have Easter, like spring break would be like 2 weeks before Easter, depending on when Easter fell. And then they would maybe just get like a long weekend for Easter. So I feel like throughout the United States, like most of the school districts, their spring breaks are 1 week in April. Like, that's what I feel like it's usually. Or depending on when Easter falls. I do know a lot of schools do it around Easter, but not all of them. So I feel like it's kind of a horrible time to travel.
Well,
That's
We
and
good.
had
I
better
might
luck kind of doing the
be,
latter of the holiday.
yeah.
Yeah,
I might be
I
in
do
the I
agree with
might be
that.
in the minority here, but I know a lot of people travel when their kids are out of school, so spring break or
Mhm.
holidays or whatever. But like,
Mhm.
this is just me saying, when your kids are young, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with them missing a little bit of school to
Nope.
like come and experience Disney and have a wonderful vacation when it's not everybody out at the same time, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me. As they get older, obviously, and it's more important for them to be like at
Mhm.
school and like grades and they get older, but like when
Yeah.
your kids are young, like I have no problem, or when my kids were young, I had no problem taking them to school for
Yeah.
like a vacation. I
Yeah, and
think that it's okay to do that.
I'm with you, Amy, and I think it's personal preference too. Like,
Mhm.
I think it's personal preference. I think it's probably situational too, but like we have taken our kids out of school to go on
Same.
Disney trips before, and it is not an issue. And like, even like one time we took Aubrey, and I knew that they were going to have like a subject matter that she was like kind of struggling on a little bit. So, like, there's the thing now is like, especially after COVID, like, so many schools are set up to do online learning now that like you
Mhm.
can say to like the teacher, and if they're willing to work with you, like, hey, like we have a travel day, like we're going to be on a plane for 3 hours, or we're going to be driving for 8 hours, or whatever it is. Like, we've had Aubrey do like worksheets and like work on things like in the car, like if we do take her out of, she's our older daughter, so like if we do take her out of school. So I feel like schools are a lot more flexible with that now, especially just with everything being online too.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I remember my youngest daughter getting like her work in advance. Like she would go to her
Hmm.
teachers and say, "Hey, we're going to be gone for this amount of time." Like,
Yeah.
and they would give her all the things that they were up, what was upcoming and what they were going to be working on, and she would do that on the plane or
Mhm.
at in the evening after we got back from the park or whatever. But I just think when they're really young, like it's not going to ruin their academic future if you
We
take
It
actually
is
had
them
a
not.
teacher
out
last
for a
year encourage
vacation.
it. She was like, "Well, you guys are going down to Florida. That's great. You guys have
Yeah.
fun."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, Alicia, too, and it might just be kind of like that military spouse mindset too, but like our husbands get leave, like our spouses get leave when they get leave. And so
Mhm.
sometimes that doesn't always like they're when they can take leave, or when they've come back from a deployment or something along those lines,
Exactly.
like doesn't align with the school schedule. So like family time is important. So if that's
Mhm.
when we need to take a trip, like I'll pull them out of school.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So as someone who's been on the flip side of things, as a teacher, I never felt, it was never a big deal for a student to go on a trip with their family for a week out of the school year. And usually is the case like that you talked about, where they would let us know ahead of time, and we could, give them what they needed, or help them when they got back. But yeah, family time's important, and not every family's, schedule it runs around the school schedules, and just like you said. So yeah, I completely agree. And I can tell you, from a teacher's point of view, that we always, welcomed it. And one of the things that I loved about that was that when I had students that went to Disney and they came back and they knew that I enjoyed Disney, like that was just a great way, to connect with them and talk about them. And, I had multiple students whose family owned DVC, and we would talk about it, or his grandma owned Old Key West, or, so yeah, I love
You
that.
know what I would love to hear about? Like, have you guys seen like in the Facebook groups and stuff, like some people post about how like if they are taking their kids like out of school to go to Disney, like I've seen some people like create like almost like a whole like Disney curriculum of
I've
like
seen
this is
that.
what they are going to learn. Like
Yeah.
I would love to know from like a teacher's
Mhm.
perspective if that is even something that you like even like remotely consider. Like, because it is kind of cool, because there are like we took our kids and we did like the behind the scenes tour with
Yeah.
them 2 summers ago, and they loved it. But it is very educational, so there are a lot of educational things at Disney as well. But
Yeah.
hot take in the comments if there are any teachers who have had this and had someone
I've
um do like a
I've
whole curriculum
I've
about why they're
seen
going to take
that
their kids to
stuff. Yeah, I've
school.
seen it
I want to
online.
know.
Yeah.
I
But
want to
I
know your
think
thought.
but that is true. Like not all, I've always taught this, like, not all learning is going to take place inside of a classroom. Obviously, schools and
Yeah.
education is very important. I taught for 11 years, but not all learning is inside of a classroom. And especially my last few years, we tried to take the kids, on different, like, we took them to like a recycling place so they could see, how things were broken
Mhm.
down and recycled, and just all kinds of, different little things like that. We went to like a storytellers festival. It was really cool.
Oh, fun.
But yeah, and there's so much to learn, at Disney, especially, like you said, Epcot, and living with the land, and just riding Spaceship Earth, or, I mean, anything like
Mhm.
that. There's a lot there, or going to the American Adventure, or, anything like that. So yeah, not all learning has to take place inside of a classroom. Okay, so let's wrap this up with one more. What is your DVC packing list? Must-haves, anything that's going to make your trip to Disney easier when traveling with kids. Alicia, what are some of the first things that you think about for your packing list?
So obviously bring the ponchos, but outside of that, you know your kid whenever they are young,
Mhm.
especially whenever they're in that stroller age, going in the parks, they are going to see the bubble wands. Go ahead, do yourself a favor,
Yeah.
go to Target, buy a bubble wand, you're going to save 20 bucks.
Oh my
You're
goodness.
also going to pack the bubbles with you so that you don't have to buy Disney's refills. And then also, it is hot down in Florida for the kids. So
Mhm.
you need one of those stroller fans. They have great ones that have like those little legs that kind of go around the edge.
Mhm.
Pick one of those up, make sure you throw that into there. But as far as like packing, even just tips, especially for the people that want to be like in their Disney attire for each day and color coordinating, you can put, especially your kids' outfits, in Ziploc bags, like their socks, underwear, the whole outfit together. So it's right there together while you're packing. It actually helps with split stays
Mhm.
too. If you do have that ability to pack separate suitcases, like this is what we're going to be wearing while we're on this side of the trip, this is what we're going to be wearing on
Yep.
this side. So just a little bit as far as packing
Yeah.
tips there.
Okay, I love the buying the bubble one in advance, because it just not a children's story, but when I first went to Disney, we brought a whole lot of family members, and my uncle, his name is Minter, which I didn't realize was a weird name until I was sitting on a bus and a kid was like, "That's your uncle's name?" But anyway, we were at, I think we maybe went into like a local Walmart, which was the first place that we stopped when we got into the Orlando area, and there were those spray bottle fans, and
Oh,
they were
yeah.
like $5, and I remember they were looking at them, and my uncle's like, "I'm not paying $5 for a bottle with what," you know what I mean? And then next thing you know, we're at Magic Kingdom, and he's standing in line at the Emporium buying like a $25 one because we
Yeah.
were so hot. So, like, those sorts of things, you're right, like, buying them in advance because they're gonna be a lot less money. I never even thought about having to buy bubble refills. Um,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
yeah.
turn them on, they don't turn them off.
That is, I know, because every time I'm at Disney, I think I'm getting attacked by mosquitoes, and it's bubbles. Amy, what's on your packing list?
Well, it's been a long time, but I would just I think everything they've already said, like the fans, the ponchos, the um diapers, portable diapers, bring extra clothes for your kids, because if they
Mhm,
were anything like my kids, it never failed. Like they're either going to spill on themselves or standing in line, they're not going to make it to the bathroom, they're going to have an accident. Like just plan ahead so you don't have to like spend astronomical prices getting your kids like a whole new Disney wardrobe while you're at the
mhm,
park. So
mhm,
just extra clothes. I've also like packing cubes are a great idea. I've seen people pack for their kids in like the hanging like shoe organizers, and
mhm.
they'll
Yes, I've
like
seen that
roll them
too.
and pack each day like in a different slot, and
Yeah,
then you just fold it up and put it in your suitcase, which I think is genius.
that is genius.
Um, I miss the days when my kids were young enough to have a stroller, because I
Oh,
wish I
God.
could take a stroller sometimes to the park. Like
Listen.
I can put my Starbucks, I can put my bag underneath, anything. Like it just is a great place to store stuff, extra drinks and snacks and all this stuff. I will say the owner's lockers are a great idea. If you're coming to Disney a lot, you're coming with kids, you're traveling back and forth. A lot of the stuff we're talking about, you don't have to pack it every single time. If you get one of those owner's lockers and just store it down here. We had a couple of them, and we would keep all of that stuff in there. Portable chargers, fans, ponchos, bottled water, like anything that you can just store and keep here without having to take up room in your suitcase to pack it every single time.
Yeah.
Is a great idea. Like we bought now that we live here, we just bought them. They're in our garage. But when we were coming all the time, we would just keep stuff in there. Laundry detergent, just anything all the time here.
Yeah. I love that.
That was that's what, like, you mentioned the strollers, and that was like going to be like, for as long as you can keep your kid in a stroller, keep your kid in a stroller. Because listen,
even if they're too big, it doesn't matter. Like, who cares?
My kid does not, my 7-year-old does not normally have a stroller, but when we go to Disney, we've just now, my oldest is going to be 11 in February. We've just, like, over the past 2 years gotten rid of the double stroller. So we're down to a single stroller. But we don't own one still at home because she doesn't use it. But we do get one at Disney for 2 reasons. One, when that stroller is gone, you miss the storage that you have. But 2, like, my 7-year-old, like, she does get tired. And so while us and my almost 11-year-old can go and just take, like, small breaks, sometimes she just needs a place. She's not in it the whole time, but sometimes she just needs a place to rest. So we actually rent ours from Kingdom Strollers, which is so amazing. Like, I'll give them a shout out. This is not sponsored. Yeah. I will give them a shout out because it is, like, Kingdom Strollers is super easy. There's a couple of different businesses out there that do, like, a similar service, but they will actually, like, come deliver it to your resort, and then you, like, schedule all of that, and then you can you just schedule for them to pick it up as well. And it's really nice because you can set, like, pickup and delivery, like, at separate resorts too. So if you do a split stay, like, you can do the, like, drop off, like, for your initial, like, part of your trip at Polynesian. And then when your trip is over, they can pick it up from Beach Club. Like, you set all of that. So they're really nice. They're really nice strollers. But we also, I think, like, for packing, one, like, kind of some tips and tricks that, like, we have done, especially as, like, frequent flyers to Disney, is, like, our kids have all of the autographs now, but they still love getting character autographs. And so instead of buying those, like, $15, $20, like, autograph books that you can get in the gift shops, before our trip, we go to, like, Five Below, and they always have, like, Disney themed notebooks in there. And we let them pick out, like, just a Disney themed notebook and bring, like, a Sharpie or two, and just let them do that. Cause they still want to get the autographs, but they don't need, like, that, like, they have, like, their keepsake ones that they've, like, gotten in the beginning. So, like, that's a really big, like, tip that we do. And then the other thing too is some people don't know this, especially if you're not a frequent flyer to Disney, is that you can actually bring in food to Disney. So that is one of the great things that Disney allows that not a lot of major theme parks do. But especially when your kids are little and they're picky and they don't want to eat, like, chicken fingers all the time, or you don't want them to eat chicken fingers all the time, if that's the only thing they'll eat in the theme parks, you can bring in soft side coolers to Disney. And as long as there's either ice pack or the ice is in, like, a sealed Ziploc bag, you can bring that in. So if you're trying to save money or your kids are picky eaters, like, you can throw, like, carrots, veggies, fruit, whatever, in that, and bring that into the parks with you instead of either paying a bunch of money for your kids, like, to eat half of a meal, or if they're super picky eaters. So we've done that too. As our kids gotten older, it's been, like, a little bit, they're better about that. But when our kids were young, we would always bring, like, a soft side cooler into the parks with us for that kind of thing.
I love that. So I always thought a stroller would be a lot of work because, if you have to get on it on a bus or get it on transportation, but I never thought about, like, keeping the kid in the stroller for as long as you can so that you have the storage and you have a place for them to rest when they get tired. Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, and with the canopies too, it's like a nice shaded spot for them to just relax, for sure.
It is,
and
especially
not
during that hot time.
Yeah.
And
not every stroller.
They get a fan. They're like you're living the life.
Yeah. And
I'm not gonna lie.
Amy, Not every stroller is created equal, though. You say like the hassle of like
Mhm.
breaking it down and getting on the bike. You have
Yeah.
to buy a good stroller. Like
Yeah.
it needs to be a stroller that it's like one press of a button and it just like
Yeah.
like collapses down. But like if you're
That's
having
why
to
we
mess
like
with
Kingdom
it every
strollers,
time, that's
too.
a pain. Yeah. It's got to be a good stroller.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mandy, you were there. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not gonna lie. When we were watching the fireworks at the Christmas party on Friday, I was kind of jealous of that adult that was sitting in that stroller.
Oh, I did. That's not what I thought. I was telling Josh about that. Though I was like, yeah, I'm like,
She looks
or
so
somebody I was telling
comfortable.
about
Like
it.
I think the
Yeah.
dad had a hold of the kid, but she was just sitting there in that stroller watching the fireworks, and there was like nobody around
Yeah,
her.
the mom was sitting in the stroller. It was
Yeah.
great. That's not what I thought you were gonna say. I thought we were gonna go like hot take about putting kids on shoulders during
Oh
fireworks.
no, yeah.
No, but they
And that's
need
why I got-
strollers for adults. There should be strollers for adults.
Yeah.
For
That's
sure.
what the scooters are for.
No,
That's too much work.
no.
Did
You
you
want
see
it's
that
not
they
the same
make-
thing. You
put
can't-
you in a stroller.
You can't lay down on that. Like I want a stroller.
She wants to
and
lounge.
Jeff, yes, and Jeff will push me. He doesn't know that he's going to, but he's going to.
They make these little purses that turn into little like stoles. Did you see those?
They do.
It doesn't look
No.
comfortable, but it's out there. Not stroller comfortable. All right. Well, those are all such great ideas, and so appreciative of you guys for coming on the show. Thank you so much for joining us. That's gonna do it for us on this episode of the DVC Show, and we will see you next Monday.